Hello, and welcome again to the Leopard Reviews. I am Peter Lepard, and I just got back from the cinema. Went to go and see a film that's just come out, Martin Scorsese's Hugo, which was known before its current title of Hugo as, The Invention of Hugo Cabaret, which is the name of the original book, and then Hugo Cabaret, and now just Hugo. To be honest, I think that either The Invention of Hugo Cabaret or just Hugo Cabaret probably would have been, it's a little bit more exciting. But anyway, yes, Hugo. So, I'd like to start off by saying that one of the reasons I went to go and see this film was a fairly selfish reason, and I'm going to blow my own trumpet a little bit here, because I actually worked on the film as a prop maker. Sort of background stuff, and it was actually one of the first films I ever worked on, and it was also one of the ones that I was very privileged to have actually been able to, kind of explore the set of the Gare du Nord station, which is where sort of most of the action takes place. I was able to wander through there and see all the things happening, and a lot of my props sort of sitting on shelves and stuff, which is all very exciting. And I will come back to my own personal experience actually of having visited that set and what this film kind of means to me, because it sort of ties in quite nicely with one of the themes that's pretty key in this film. But anyway, okay, enough about that. The plot. Okay, so I don't want to give too much away because it's quite a new film. But yeah, I'll have to say that a great deal of the plot kind of revolves around early cinema, and in particular one of its greatest pioneers, in my opinion, a man named Georges Méliès, who was a French filmmaker, and to many people a visionary. He sort of played around with early special effects, and the results are sort of those things that live in iconic cinema. But yes, okay. So the story revolves around the central character, Hugo Cabret, and he lives basically in the Gare du Nord station in Paris, and he works kind of in the walls of the station, fixing and maintaining all the little clocks, make sure all the very important, keeping all the clocks running in the station, make sure the trains, people know when they get to their trains, all that sort of thing. But yes. And he's obsessed with building and fixing things, clockwork, all of those kind of things, which I can relate to personally, because I love building and fiddling with things. But yes, and the key focus of his interest in making and mending things is an automaton, which is kind of a mechanical man who does things that were used in sort of old kind of parlour tricks, that sort of thing. And there's this kind of whole mystery surrounding this automaton that it's only until Hugo sort of starts fixing it and gets involved with other characters and their parts sort of fit into this machine, which is exactly what it is. Their parts are coming together to build this machine to find out what the mystery is all about. And so all of these things gradually unravel, and this kind of mystery pours out, and it's all very beautiful. Okay, so now as I mentioned, the film deals with the history of cinema, and you can see that there's kind of this, Scorsese's obviously kind of writing this love letter to cinema, to the medium that he loves, which I can't blame him for at all. I love the medium as well. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing these reviews if I didn't, but it's very passionate in places. I mean, it often feels sort of like a documentary about early film and early cinema, and it's got this. There are moments in it that you sort of I was kind of sat there going, I'm really glad that I'm seeing these early films on the big screen. The train coming into a station, the Lumière's brothers film. The one that supposedly had people, running and screaming from the cinema because they were seeing this train coming towards them, which actually is a bit of exaggeration. It was a publicity thing, but never mind. That's just a bit of nonsense, a bit of history. Not nonsense. History's never nonsense. Yes, and it's I mean, the book it's based on as well is full of this kind of reverence for early cinema, and that kind of brings me to one of my criticisms of this film, and it's a personal peeve of mine, to be honest, and I know it is for a lot of other people. It's 3D, you know. I don't understand what the obsession is with 3D. I mean, I know why so many films are coming out now in 3D. It's because all the production houses and stuff, and all the the people who put the films out there have invested so much money into this technology that they basically can't go back now. So we're kind of stuck with it. You know, it's not like in the 50s and then in the 80s when this was kind of a fad that sort of disappeared. You know, you had weird films like Jaws, and then there was Dial M for Murder, which Alfred Hitchcock actually did, and then he just kind of abandoned it. He abandoned 3D and realised it was nonsense, which is strange as well, because when they in fact were inventing not just film but photography, even before moving images, when photography was being invented, they were playing around with stereoscopy, which basically, yeah, three-dimensional images, and they saw it as a novelty. And you know, they were able to make three-dimensional films, but they just didn't bother, because not for films that are sort of serious storytelling films. And it just seems a little bit strange that Scorsese is kind of ignoring what the kind of message of those early films was, and that's kind of, you know, he said that 3D was going to redefine the architecture of cinema. And I don't really understand what that means. That just seems to mean shoving stuff in people's faces. That's all the architecture, I suppose. It has changed, because it's just stuff coming at you, and if stuff isn't coming at you, then it's just pointless. And it's pretty much always pointless, but yeah, okay, I don't want to get into that, because that's an entirely different debate, and I probably could make an entire stream of videos based on that one thing. But yes, so the early cinema is something that's very key here, and the look of the film as well, the kind of golden hues and some of the very vivid colours are very similar to the look of kind of films from, you know, the 50s and 60s that were sort of early Technicolor, colorized film as well. They've got this very vivid look. I mean, Hugo's eyes are brilliantly red, brilliantly blue for most of the film, and that kind of feel kind of lends to this reverence for cinema. I mean, there's a beautiful bit, actually. I wanted to mention this. One of my favourite moments is when Hugo looks up at this kind of mural on the wall in the film library, and he sees an image of Prometheus with his finger pointing down, you know, giving fire to mortal men, giving them the gift of technology, basically, and it turns into a cinema projector projecting this early film on the wall, and you get films like the D.W. Griffiths, and sort of all they go and see a Harold Lloyd film, and there's just all of these references to these films, and I'm just sat there as a film fan going, yes, they're brilliant, brilliant, I love it. And even Scorsese appearing in the film as the photographer, because Georges Méliès did that so many times, he acted in his own films and all that kind of stuff. And there's a great deal of documentary sort of feel to it. I mean, a lot of these events actually happened. But yes, okay, sorry, I don't want to take up too much time with this review. So basically, to sum up, I really enjoyed the film. I really did. I thought it was a really nice looking film. One of my criticisms, I would say, is that it's too long. You know, the editing could be much better. You know, the brevity in it doesn't have any. There isn't any brevity. Too much happens. And I think it's quite ironic, because I think that sort of Scorsese hasn't really learnt from the films that he's referencing so many times and showing the images of, because they are all about sort of trying to tell a story in as minimal amount of time as possible, and he doesn't. He kind of lingers on a lot of things that I think are a little bit unnecessary. I think the editing could have been a bit better. Yeah. I mentioned before that it was one of the films that I worked on. That's one of the reasons I liked it. I mean, the fact that I was sat there trying to look at all the books and see which one I wrote my name on Don't tell anybody I did that. But yeah. And there's a moment where they're talking about a man who wrote a book about the history of cinema, and he's talking about when he was very young and he went to go and see one of the sets being built. And I was just thinking, it's exactly the same. I mean, I wasn't as young as he was, but it's exactly the same. I was wandering onto this set, and I remember the exact emotions as I was walking around this set. It was amazing. Everything, you sort of walk from one place to another, and you're in one location, and then suddenly you're in another, and it was incredible. I was sort of walking around wide-eyed that I was in this place, and there's a great feeling in this film of kind of the discovery of cinema that Georges Méliès had. When he saw the train coming into the station, he was hooked on this medium, and it's one of the reasons I do what I do now is because I love the medium, and it's being any part of it, any part of the medium, any part of making a film that sort of is a beautiful thing, and I think it really helps. But yeah, okay. So to sort of cut it short a little bit. Oh, sorry, my mind's completely gone blank. Yeah. I really enjoyed this film. I really, really did. It could have been shorter. The 3D is completely unnecessary, as it is with every single film that has ever been made in 3D. Stop making things in 3D. I mean, I know you won't because you're money-grabbing bastards, but there it is. That's my 2p in the jar. I might do a more detailed review of this if I get round to it. But that's my initial reaction. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm going to say good night. I've been Peter Lepard. This has been the Leopard Reviews, and farewell.